Call this meeting to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Katie Huffaker.
Here.
Todd Jefferson.
Here.
Steve Douglas.
Here.
David Goff.
Here.
Randy Batchley.
Here.
Rita Music.
Here.
Donnie Tabor.
Here.
John McGraw.
Here.
Russell Turner.
Here.
Tim Seals.
Here.
Sammy Solomon. Robert Blevins.
Here.
Gene Esslinger.
Here.
Randy Bales.
Here.
John Neal Scarlett.
Here.
Terry Dockery.
Here.
Robert Tucker.
Here.
Jimmy Carmichael.
Here.
David Seal.
Here.
Bob Beeler.
Here.
Barbara Sheets.
Here.
Would everyone please stand while Donnie Tabor leads us in prayer?
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for this opportunity to serve you, Lord Jesus. We pray that we can seek your wisdom and seek your grace in all that we do, Father. And as we look at the betterment of the people of Jefferson County, Father, we pray that we can see it with your eyes and hear it with your ears, Lord, that we may be more like you and that they may be more like you, Father. Help us to seek your wisdom and seek your grace in all that we do. In your holy name I pray. Amen. Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 5 on your agenda is approval and correction of the agenda. Anyone? Mr. Scarlett.
I'd like to strike under new business 14A. As I discussed the work session, I don't think this is something the commission needs to take up.
Form of a motion?
Form of motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Scarlett to strike 15A.
15A, I'm sorry.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rob Blevins. Any discussion? Mr. Tabor.
I brought this resolution forward, and what the resolution says is that it's asking for our support for that the state legislators can regulate abortion in our state. Tennessee is the #1 designated state for outside abortions in the southeastern United States. It's also the #3 in the country. Last week, some commissioners had a discussion about not voting on this issue because it's controversial. Well, I would dare say that every issue we take up is controversial. There's not any issue that we could vote on that every constituent in your district would agree with you on. So we got to vote what we think that most of the constituents would agree on. And Jefferson County is overwhelmingly pro-life. Therefore, I would have to say most of your constituents would agree that we should vote yes on this resolution. We vote for resolutions all the time that have nothing to do with the budget. We vote on 2 others tonight, honorary resolutions. We do it every meeting, and I don't know why this one will be any different, except it's got some roots in Christianity, and that seems to be a bad thing sometimes in political arenas. But that's the only reason I can see why we would not want to vote on it. So, therefore, I'd like to say that I think it's worthwhile for us to vote on, and I'd like to see the commission go forward with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tabor. We have a motion on the floor and a duly second, and we will do a roll. Wait a minute. I didn't see. Sorry. Mr. McGraw.
I agree with Mr. Tabor that this is a slam dunk vote on issue #1. If you heard me on the air Friday, I interviewed both Representative Faison and Senator Nicely, and they turn the microphone on me as a physician. This really has to do a lot more than just with pro-life. It has to do with the fact that our abortion clinics are not regulated as much as some beauty parlors and barbershops. And it's a travesty what's happening in our state. It is terrible. The physician from Memphis that's on the TV right now is totally out of line, Dr. Phillips. She doesn't know what she's talking about. And I would challenge her in front of anybody. The only problem I'm having, Mr. Tabor, is this is county commission, and it's not necessarily, you know, one of the issues that the county is facing. This is a state issue. I feel very, very passionate about Amendment 4 because I'm a member of the VFW 3380. And I really think we need to have a level playing field where our veteran service organizations ought to be at, but I didn't bring that to the county commission because I think this is a statewide issue. So I sympathize 100% with voting yes on Amendment 1, but I'm not sure county commission's the right place.
Anyone else? Sir?
If our constituents were having trouble getting this to the ballot, I could understand it. It is on the ballot. Every person in the state of Tennessee who's registered to vote can voice their opinion on it at the polls. And again, I agree with Mr. Tabor in theory anyway that Amendment 1 needs to pass. I'm pro-life and certainly believe it needs to pass, but I do not believe it needs to be dealt with this county legislative vote. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Turner.
I respect both sides of this, but because it's on the agenda, I feel compelled to do what I believe is right, and that is to vote on it. I don't want to ever seem to skirt around something that's on the agenda because I'm afraid to speak my mind. And so I certainly will not support striking this from the agenda. I certainly appreciate and respect everybody's right to vote however they please, but this is not a statement of a vote in support of or against what's written inside, what's in on the ballot. It just says, it's just a statement. It does not take action. This body's not taking an action. I do respect Dr. McGraw's opinion. I respect the other opinions, but I will not support striking it because I feel it should be. It's on the agenda. It's in the open, and I feel that we should voice our opinion and move on.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Anyone else? Mr. Scarlett, you get to close.
I don't have any problem with being Christian in public. I do feel, however, if, as Mr. Seal said, that if they were having a problem getting on a ballot, I see that. And this would not be the first thing we've struck from an agenda as this commission. My problem is everybody's fixing to vote on it. It's a state issue, and I just don't feel like it's what the commission needs to be focusing their attention and energy on, because the people in the 7th district, and I assume the other districts in the county, are fixing to voice their opinion, and I'm pretty sure that they know where to voice it at. So with that said, that was my reason behind striking this from the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Scarlett. The discussion has closed, and now we will vote. If you vote yes, you are voting to strike. If you vote no, you are voting to leave it on. Is everyone clear? Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Katie Huffaker.
Yes.
Todd Jefferson.
Yes.
Steve Douglas.
Yes.
David Galt.
Yes.
Randy Baxley.
No.
Rita Music.
No.
Donnie Tabor.
No.
John McGraw.
Yes.
Russell Turner.
No.
Tim Seals.
Yes.
Robert Blevins.
Yes.
Gene Esslinger.
Yes.
Randy Bales.
Yes.
John Neal Scarlett.
Yes.
Terry Dockery.
Yes.
Robert Tucker,
Yes.
Jimmy Carmichael,
Yes.
David Seal,
Yes.
Bob Beeler. No. Barbara Sheets.
Yes.
This item will be struck from the agenda at this time. We are moving back to the number 6 is approval of the minutes. Mr. Tucker,
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Rita. Anyone opposed? Minutes pass. Appearance of citizens, I didn't receive any. Is there anyone that was wanting to appear? Moving right along, we've got 2 honorary resolutions to commemorate and honor 2 individuals for public service to the citizens of Jefferson County. Mr. Rob Blevins, floor is yours.
Okay. I would ask that the clerk read the resolution, please. Mr. Vesser's family's here, and Commissioner Esslinger, and I would present it to him upon you when you finish it.
Resolution 2014-20, a resolution to commemorate and honor former Jefferson County Sheriff's Deputy Captain Bobby Vesser for his public service to the citizens of Jefferson County. Whereas since its founding, Jefferson County has been served by many fine and praiseworthy individuals that have provided honorable and worthy service to the citizens of Jefferson County. And whereas Bobby Vesser is among that legion of such individuals who through personal commitment of time and energy served the citizens of Jefferson County for nearly 4 decades. Captain Vesser served his beloved Jefferson County and her citizens in many different capacities, including 911 emergency dispatcher, 2-term constable of Jefferson County, deputy sheriff, church leader, and was the sitting senior chairman of the Jefferson County Republican Executive Committee, as well as serving numerous other public service roles throughout his entire adult lifetime. And whereas Bobby Vesser is a native son of the volunteer state, having served and duly upholding the constitutions of both the United States and the state of Tennessee, upholding the laws and ordinances of Jefferson County, and providing professional, positive, and compassionate public service that for 38 years helped to make the communities of Jefferson County, Tennessee, a safer and better place in which to live and conduct business. And whereas Bobby Vesser served Jefferson County and the citizens of the 4th District for 2 terms in the elected office of County Constable, serving with thoughtful, positive, and sincere compassion. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Jefferson County Commission that we publicly commemorate and declare our appreciation for Captain Robert Bobby Lee Vesser, a friend, an exceptional man, a man of compassion and integrity, who invested himself in the lives of people over a lifetime of public service. We trust his legacy of service will serve as a model for all others who aspire to serve the citizens of this county. Adopted this 20th day of October 2014.
If you approve of this resolution, signify by standing and applauding, please.
There's 2 handouts.
We have one more resolution for George William G.W. Lloyd Jr. Commissioner John Neal Scarlett, you have the floor.
If Mr. Frank would read it, and I'll ask Mr. Lloyd's family to come up, and Mr. Charlie Tipton, please.
Resolution 2014-30, a resolution to commemorate and honor George William G.W. Lloyd, Jr. for his public service to the citizens of Jefferson County. Whereas since its founding, Jefferson County has been served by many fine and praiseworthy individuals that have provided honorable and worthy service to the citizens of Jefferson County. And whereas George William G.W. Lloyd, Jr. was a lifelong resident of Jefferson County and a lifelong farmer and cattleman in the Rocky Valley community. And whereas George William G.W. Lloyd, Jr. has served his wonderful family as a husband, father, and grandfather. And whereas George William G.W. Lloyd, Jr. was an active member of Cedar Grove United Methodist Church. And whereas George William G.W. Lloyd, Jr. was a member of the Gideons. And whereas George William G.W. Lloyd, Jr. was elected as Highway Commissioner in the Highway District Number 2 on May the 5th, 1987, and provided Jefferson County 27 years of faithful and dedicated service. And whereas George William G.W. Lloyd, Jr. served as Chairman of the Highway Commission for 6 years, from September 1991 until August 1997. Now therefore be it resolved by the Jefferson County Commission that we publicly commemorate and declare our appreciation for George William G.W. Lloyd, Jr., who has invested himself in the lives of people during his lifetime of public service. We trust his legacy of service will serve as a model of all others who aspire to serve the citizens of this county. Adopted this 20th day of October, 2014.
You approve of this resolution, signify by standing and applauding.
It's been a ride, GW. I'd do it again for 30 more years. This is his nameplate. I just want to, good man as he was, he's got good people behind him.
Well, thank y'all for recognizing him. He enjoyed his time on the commission, hopefully make Jefferson County a little bit better place to live.
Perfect. We'll do it again if he wants to. Thank you all very much.
Next on the agenda, you have the approval of notaries and bonds in your handout. Any question or comment? Mr. Scarlett. And Mr. Turner. Any opposed? It passes. Number 10, election of committees, boards, and commissions. The nominating committee is first. As I chairman, nominate committee recommendations for the Finance Committee. There's 4 seats to be filled. The nominating committee bring to you these names for consideration. Number 1, David Seal. Number 2, Katie Huffaker. Number 3, John McGraw. Number 4, Ginger Franklin. I will now open the floor to any nominations. Mr. Kesterson.
I'd like to nominate David Galt.
Mr. Kesterson nominates David Galt. Mr. Dockery.
I'd like to nominate Robert Tucker.
Mr. Dockery nominates Robert Tucker. Anyone else? Mr. Scarlett.
Move to nominate Mr. Tim Seals.
Mr. Scarlett nominates Tim Seals. Anyone else? If there's no one else, the floor will be closed to nominations. You have now before you, for consideration, for David Seal, Katie Huffaker, John McGraw, Ginger Franklin, David Galt, Robert Tucker, and Tim Seals. You will be picking 4 of these names. So when the roll is called, you will be given the clerk 4 names. Any questions or comment?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Douglas.
Pardon me, I'm new to this. Are we or are we not, as members of the nominating committee, bound to the 4 names that we brought out of the nominating committee?
You can pick any 4 you want to, sir.
I'm not saying I'm going to or I'm not. I'm just asking how that works. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Turner.
Just a point of privilege, you said that we had to vote for 4, and you really don't.
Well, technically you don't, but you're supposed to vote for 4.
You can vote up to 4.
Right.
Thank you.
Is everyone ready? Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Katie Huffaker.
David Seal, Katie Huffaker, John McGraw, Ginger Franklin.
Todd Kesterson.
Katie Huffaker, David Galt, Robert Tucker, Tim Seal.
Steve Douglas.
David Seal, John McGraw, Robert Tucker, Katie Huffaker.
David Goff.
David Seal, David Galt, Robert Tucker, Tim Seals.
Randy Baxley.
Huffaker, McGraw, Franklin.
Rita Music.
Huffaker, McGraw, Franklin, and Tucker.
Donnie Tabor.
Katie Huffaker, John McGraw, Ginger Franklin, and Robert Tucker.
John McGraw.
Seal, Huffaker, McGraw, Franklin.
Russell Turner.
Huffaker, McGraw, Franklin.
Tim Seals.
David Seal, Galt, Robert Tucker, Tim Seals.
Robert Blevins.
Seal, Seals, Galt, Tucker.
Gene Esslinger.
David Seal, David Gott, Tim Seals, Robert Tucker.
Randy Bales.
Huffaker, McGraw, Tucker, and Seals.
John Neal Scarlett.
David Seal, David Galt, Tim Seals, Robert Tucker.
Terry Dockery.
David Seal, Robert Tucker, David Galt, and Tim Seals.
Robert Tucker.
David Seal, David Galt, Robert Tucker, Tim Seals.
Jimmy Carmichael.
David Seal, David Galt, Robert Tucker, Tim Seals.
David Seal.
David Seal, Katie Huffaker, John McGraw, Ginger Franklin.
Bob Beeler.
Huffaker, McGraw, and Franklin.
Barbara Sheets.
David Seal, Katie Huffaker, John McGraw, and Ginger Franklin.
Okay, is that 13? What is that? Okay. Tucker had 13. Okay, Huffaker had 12. Seal. David Seal had 13. McGraw had 11. Okay, that's it.
Can't do much else, I can do that.
Your finance committee reads Robert Tucker, 13 votes. David Seal, 13 votes. Miss Katie Huffaker with 12. John McGraw with 11. Any questions or comments? There is none. Moving on to number 11, reports from elected officials, department heads. Mayor Alan Palmieri, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the County Commission, I've got 5 items, probably be able to cut them down to 4 to go over with you relatively quickly. First of all, I'd like to announce that Chairman of the School Board, Bill Jarnigan, and also Director of Schools, Dr. Charles Edmonds, called me Friday evening late. They wanted to invite County Commission to come out tomorrow afternoon between 5:30 and 6:30 to take a tour of Building 8 to see what's going on, see the present condition and also what's going on. So they have handed County Commission a personal invitation to come. The only thing they've asked is that you wear shoes, not flip-flops, that you wear long pants, and they'll provide hard hats. You'll need to have those to get onto the into the area. So if you would like to go, I would say contact Mr. Jarnigan or Dr. Edmonds' office, Mr. Fagan's office, and arrangements can be made for you. The other thing I'd like to announce is Tennessee Achieves. Jefferson County has been very successful, and in large part that is due to the fact the County Commission has stepped up to the plate and provided funding since its inception. I remember when the program first started, Mayor Mike Ragsdale of Knox County helped originate the program. Jefferson County signed on, and we've had success with our students, success with Walter State working with us. One of the most important components in the Tennessee Achieves program is to have mentors for these students. Out of the state, 95 counties, only 23 counties met the required number of mentors that they needed for the students. Jefferson County has over 300 students that are participating in the program. We had over 300 mentors to team up with these students, and that was recognized in the state of Tennessee. So Jefferson County has been very aggressive and very successful with their efforts. Next item that I have, I'd like to ask David if he would help me pass this out. Roger Minnick is here with us tonight. If you'll pass those out. I'll give you a minute to look over what we have. I'll ask Roger if he would, in case there are any questions. What you have being passed out in front of you is a section of the bylaws of the nursing home. In order to change those, County Commission has to approve them. On your agenda later on in the program tonight, you're going to be voting on whether or not to go to quarterly meetings for County Commission. The nursing home for the last 2, maybe 3 years has discussed the fact that quarterly meetings would be wise on their behalf. On that sheet I'm giving you, if you will look, and this is a verbatim out of the Article 1 of the nursing home, if you'll look at the first section that is underlined where it says, shall meet in regular session on the second Thursday of each and every month. That is the way the resolution presently reads. The nursing home board, under unanimous vote, and with the suggestion, recommendation, support of the administrator, Roger Minott, is requesting a motion by County Commission to amend that resolution to read as it does in the red section that says, shall meet in regular session the second Thursday of the month once a quarter or as needed based on the opinion of the administrator or the chairman. Mr. Minott, would you like to add anything?
I would just appreciate your consideration of this. We have been meeting every month since the nursing home opened in 1969. But as of late, there's not always a full list of items that need to be discussed each and every month. So by moving to a quarterly meeting or as needed, it would be better on the nursing home, the management of the nursing home overall.
Mr. McGraw, question.
I'd like to make a motion that this be granted to the board, and being out of order, thank him for the wonderful service to our county.
Thank you.
Second by Tim Seals. Mr. Scarlett.
You'll need, if Mr. McGraw wants to make the motion.
We'll have to suspend the rule to actually do this.
You've already approved the agenda. But you can do that.
I'd like to suspend the rules to put this on the agenda, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Mr. Baylor.
Sir, is anything in your organization keeps you from having call meetings? Can you call, or your chairman call a meeting anytime they want to?
Yes, sir, we can at any time.
Mr. Turner. Mr. Tabor.
You got the second already.
Done got the second.
Okay. Who's currently the chairman?
I'm the chairman.
Okay, so this says that basically you, as the chairman, can make the call for a meeting, or the administrator, which is you.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan. Okay.
Mr. Tabor.
Are you Joint Commission accredited?
No, we are not joint commission.
But you are state accredited, right?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Well, at quarterly meetings, you'll be at the bare minimum the state would allow. So if you miss a meeting, then you could be out of regulation, right? You know that, right?
Right. Well, you mean under joint commission accreditation?
Well, no, the state requires quarterly meetings as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I foresee us meeting definitely on a quarterly basis, but most likely it will be more often because, there will be things that come up from time to time.
You have before you a motion to suspend the rule. Let's try to do this a simple hand count. If you're for suspending the rule to hear this motion, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed? The rule has just been suspended. Now we're back to our original motion. Is the original motion as stands?
Yes.
Any discussion?
Just clarification, you have to have a 2/3 majority.
Yes, you do.
You had a 2/3 majority.
You had a 2/3 majority on the suspend the rules. You don't. A simple 11 count. I'm sorry, I just told you wrong. A simple 11 majority vote will pass this. You had to have 14 votes to suspend the rule. You don't need 14 to pass it. Any other question or comment? If you're for this motion, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed? Motion passes. Your quarterly meeting, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor, you have the floor back.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the County Commission. I have one comment to make, and that is about the bonus that was discussed in the budget meeting. I was the one that brought that up. I do appreciate the Budget Committee taking action on that. I feel like it was needed. I have one other item to pass out and this was just completed recently. Let's see. Make sure I've got the right one. All right, these are appointments. Let me fill in the new commissioners that are here for the first time about this appointment list. There are certain boards and committees that, due to resolutions and state law, that the mayor appoints. These are not appointments that come from county commission. They're solely the responsibility of the mayor to make the appointment, bring it before county commission for confirmation. Now, a long time ago, probably 2 county commissions ago, and before that, the mayor's office always maintained a list of all the boards and committees, not only the ones that the mayor had, but also county commissions. Phil Kindred became chairman of the county commission. He said he wanted to take it upon himself for them to maintain the lists of not only the appointments I make, but county commissions. We provided all the information. We said that was fine. Somewhere down the line, things got messed up, and it's been 2 separate documents all the way through. There have been numerous requests that have been made by one commissioner or another to have the committees that I appoint along with the personnel that's been appointed. What you have before you are the boards and committees that the mayor appoints within Jefferson County. These do not include mayoral appointments that I make due to the fact that I'm with the East Tennessee Mayors Association. I'm chairman of the E-Trauma Group. There are numerous other organizations that I participate in that I do make appointments to, ETED and things of that nature. What you have before you on the left-hand side that says committee and board gives the organization. Then you have the terms of office. Then you have the members' names. Once this is confirmed, if the county commission will go ahead and confirm this, what I will do is plug in the terms for each one of these, and I will provide them to the chairman of the county commission, the chair secretary, so that they'll be able to distribute everything to you. So what I would like to ask tonight, as you look at these, since these are mayoral appointments, is I'll call out the different organizations. And Mr. Chairman, I don't know how you'd like to do this. If you'd like for me just to run down this whole list and ask for confirmation, whether you'd like me to go by division or department, or how would you like for me to do that?
What would be the pleasure of the commission?
Do it all together. Let's save time. We don't need to vote 20 times.
Mr. Mayor, we'd like to do it all together.
All right, sir. Let me just read through them then. Where I don't read through, for example, let me tell you this. On the second side, on the right-hand side, you will see the second board down, the Solid Waste Regional Planning Board. You will notice all those members. Only the top 3 members does the mayor appoint. And those were already approved, so they won't be brought up tonight. The bottom ones are ones that are appointed by municipal mayors that are inside the county. You'll also notice on down on the same side, Jefferson Memorial Hospital Board, the Oversight Board. You will notice that the top 4 positions, those are Jefferson City appointees that we don't have any control over. The bottom 3 are the ones that we have, and they have been confirmed and they're still in. So I'll begin with EMS on the left side, the ones that I'm asking for to be confirmed tonight. And there's no changes on this board with the exception of Commissioner Galt and Chairman Carmichael, who would like to place on this board because of the fact you need 2 commissioners, and it's been traditional that the chairman of the county commission serve. So I'm asking for confirmation for Raymond Ellis, Colin McRae, Ronnie Coleman, David Galt, and Jimmy Carmichael. On the ethics committee, which is appointed every year, the mayor makes the appointment. I have Commissioner Tim Seals, Commissioner Jimmy Carmichael, Commissioner John McGraw, Commissioner John Neal Scarlett, and Road Superintendent Charlie Tipton, who has been the chairman ever since inception of this committee. The Nursing Home Board, Merle Jarnigan, Linda Franklin, E.M. Rogers. Public Records Commission, this is established by state law, and these are the individuals that have to serve due to the capacities that they hold, and that's Bob Jarnigan, Lou Hinchy, Keith Repass, Frank Herndon, and Robert Tucker. On the Sanitation Board, Larry Howard, Hoagie Snodgrass, Bertie Jean French. On 911, it's Billy John Curitan. Jefferson Memorial Tenova Foundation Board is Dale Fain and Roger Miney. And those are the requests I had for appointment, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dockery.
Motion to approve all.
Second.
I have a motion to approve all, and who was the second? Mr. John McGraw was the second. If you approve of these names, Mr. Turner, question.
Mayor, you have one open slot on E911. You don't have a nomination to...
Have a what?
You don't have a person in mind to fill the open slot on the 911?
There is an open slot on 911. I have not filled it.
Mr. Seals.
This also includes the Regional Planning Commission? You didn't, it's on here, but you didn't name it.
It does. It's down on the bottom. On the left-hand side, it says Regional Planning and Zoning Commission.
We're reapproving them too, right?
Yeah, they have, those members have already been approved.
Oh, they've already?
They're still active. Their terms have not expired.
Okay.
If not so, we'll go ahead and vote. If you approve of the mayor's nomination, signify by raising your right hand. If you oppose, Mr. Mayor, your appointment's passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, Commissioners.
Next on the agenda, we have the sheriff. Sheriff, you have anything to add? Any question or comment? Thanks, Sheriff. We have Register of Deeds, Ed Steiner. Anything to add? Thank you, Mr. Steiner. Next, we have the County Clerk, Frank Herndon. Anything to add or change?
Answer any questions.
Any question or comment? E, we have Circuit Court Clerk, Penny Murphy. Any questions or comment? Highway Superintendent Charles Tipton. Ms. Rita Music, you have the floor.
I'm just asking about the bridge because I'm asked about it all the time.
Everything's still going. It just, like I said, we're just waiting on the, you gotta wait on the engineer cores. It's just a timely matter in all the permits. Everything's moving right along, and we dealt with the engineer the other day, Darrell, they called me, he called him also. Everything's rolling on. I'm pushing a little bit, but we're just,
okay.
It's just a timely matter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tipton. Sir.
May I ask one question?
Sure.
Charles, this is probably not in your venue, but it certainly is affecting my district and Mr. Beeler and Ms. Sheets. That bridge, old Andrew Highway, I mean, that's hurting business for our part of the county. What's happening with that? Can you tell me at all?
Oh, at the old co-op over there?
Yes.
That's not us, that's the city.
If this is going to be a lengthy exchange, I'll have to ask you to come up to the microphone, please.
I hate to know anything.
Just do it the right way.
I can tell you what they're doing to us. They've got about $900,000 worth of bridge money tied up with that bank. And the state has quit giving them money because they've tied up for about 2 years. And their project, reason I tried to get that money, but I can't get the money because their project costs more than what anything we've got going does. But that's the city of Jefferson City.
Mr. Baylor, question or comment?
I can tell you what I was told by one of the city council people. In their opinion, the holdup is because the railroad has, like 2 years in advance, they have you know, or they've already had signed contracts to haul stuff. And now if they don't, they're gonna have to, it's gonna cost them a bunch of money. I've heard the same thing. The railroad is what they're dealing So the with. I railroad, don't talk out of school they're, that. I didn't know personally. They're trying to figure out a way to get it shipped some other way besides, you know. So actually, that's the whole.
Mr. McGraw.
Can I ask that we try to get a solid answer? Mr. Mayor, you have any knowledge about this at all? I need answers because my constituents are saying we're hurting.
Commissioner McGraw, you're exactly right. It has had a dramatic impact on not only Jefferson City and the 10th District, but the county as a whole. It's my understanding from working with Norfolk Southern and also the city of Jefferson City that the responsibility and the holdup is on the side of Norfolk Southern. That bridge is being condemned, and until it's repaired, it's a strict liability even for the state standpoint. That bridge and construction of that bridge will depend on Norfolk Southern. Jefferson City has passed resolutions and made calls. I've done the same thing. It's an economic issue for Norfolk Southern. They can't even give us a time frame in which they're going to have the thing fixed. As best as you can determine, it'll probably be sometime next year.
Anyone else? Mr. Dockery.
Charlie, would you by any chance know why the state's closing 92 October 23rd from 9 to 3?
He's supposed to get back with me about that, let me know a little ahead of time too, in case we're traveling that way also. But what I understand, they're going to do some road repairs over there.
So they're going to be closed from, say, the bridge all the way to 411, or do you know?
I think it's the bushes.
Yeah.
I think it is. But I'm not, don't quote me on that until he gets back with me. He can fill me in on it.
Mr. Seals.
Where it's at, he's changing it.
Anything?
It's really what they're going to do. They're going to do something. They're closing up both ends all the way. It's what, as of right now, is what he said, but he's going to get back with me.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Moving down to Trustee Ginger Franklin. Ms. Ginger, do you have anything to add? Please take the podium, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have a copy of the activity in the trustee's office for July through September, and I did want to say a couple of things after some things that were said last week. You know, the trustee serves as the county's banker, so you might look at this report as your bank statement. And if you notice, it lists the different funds. It lists the names of the funds, the beginning balance as of July 1, and then the amount of revenue that we have receipted, and then every check that the finance department has written on those funds. And then there is a column that says commission, and the trustee is considered a fee office. And by state law, certain revenue accounts are charged a commission. Some are 1%, some I charge nothing, some are 2%. And if you notice, the amount in that commission column is how much is charged against each fund for this quarter. And in the very last column is the ending balance for each one of those funds. And you heard something about fund balances last week, and property taxes. Property taxes, the bulk of the property taxes come in February. So the months of July through September, if you notice, we on the very back page, the property tax collection for prior year, this would be the 2013 tax, was only $705,000. Property taxes, the 2014, hopefully all of you got your tax bills last week, are due and payable the first Monday in October. And then the last day to pay them is February the 28th. We will receive some money in October, some money in November. We will receive more in December. And of course, January and February, we get the rest of it. And you've got to have a cash balance. That's the reason it's good to have a fund balance, because you need to have a good cash balance to carry you through those months that you're not collecting property taxes. And I just wanted to call that to your attention. And if you look down on the column under fund, you will see the Fund 128, hospital lease, and if you follow that line all the way over, it shows you what the balance in that hospital account is as of September the 30th. And these ending balances are considered cash balances. In other words, that's how much cash each one of these funds have available. So I just kind of wanted to call out some attention. I just wanted to call some attention to that, and after some comments were made last week. Thank you.
Thank you. Any question or comments? If not so, we'll move right along to H, your Finance Director, Mr. Darrell Helton. You have for action the finance of $5 million cash. It spoke with Financial Advisor Scott Gibson at Cumberland Securities for the funding analysis as of October the 14th, 2014. This is for action. Is there a motion or anyone interested? Mr. David Gott.
Darrell, how much? We talked to Budget Committee. We've got $6 million in the fund balance, and this undesignated. So this 5, where is this 5 that the previous commission designated at some point? Where is it sitting at now?
Where you designated $5 million was to come, $2.8 million was to come out of the hospital account.
Okay.
$1.2 million out of the debt service fund balance. Or actually it's $1,190,000, and then $1,010,000 has come out of the school fund balance.
So what is our balance of the debt service?
It is, as of June 30th, it was $8 million more. Almost $8 million, $8.2 million. And we're projected this year to use $1,588,000. I'm sorry, I'm giving you, I've got 14 and 15, I'm sorry. At June 30th. Comes out of this one, debt service. This year we had $7,500,000, $7.5 million. So therefore, right now, we're projecting to use $1.5 million. Balance the budget, leaving us a projected fund balance at the end of June 30th, 2015 of just under $6 million.
So if we use this 1.2, we'd be down to 4.8. And what is our level that we're recommended to maintain?
Well, the fund balance says it has to be 50% of 1 year's debt service, which was right now we're a little bit over $7 million, so you're looking 3.5 to $4 million somewhere is the fund balance requirement.
For fiscal year, the whole fiscal
year. Anyone else? Question or comment? If there is no action, we'll move right along. Mr. Beeler.
Motion? Do you want the motion?
It's for action.
I make a motion that we take the finance director and the finance advisor's advice, and I'm sure they know more than we do, and that would be to go ahead and borrow the $5 million and keep the $5 million in the fund balance.
Your motion reads to take the director and advisor's advice and borrow the $5 million. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is there a second?
Second.
The second, Mr. Randy Baxley. Anyone else, question or comment? Mr. Turner.
Darrell, we talked about this earlier, and even times before other meetings. Would it not be prudent for us to wait for the cost projections for the Building 8 renovation to become clear so that we could potentially package a financing of these two debts, and also maybe experience some economies of scale, maybe in taking those bonds to the market and reduce the cost of having to do two if we were to have to be faced with two financing options?
Well, as I said last week, you really have two different things to look at here. It is the $5 million that you've appropriated to be spent out of cash, and then the financing for whatever you decide on Building 8. And I gave you some other figures, some estimated figures there for you to consider. And that's kind of another issue. As you know, those figures came to somewhere around $3 million, so we were projecting to borrow $8 million. But I did say, remember, those were estimated amounts. We do not know what the bids are going to be for renovations of the interior Building 8. Those bids are expected to go out. They've already been out. They're already out.
Just pricing, should have those before the school board meeting Thursday night.
Yeah, we should have that amount hopefully Thursday night.
That being the key point is that the school board meeting's this Thursday, which is out of sync with us right now. And so we're not going to know those numbers until November meeting.
That's correct. We will know the exact amount.
Anyone else, question or comment? Mr. David Galt, then Mr. Scarlett.
I want to say this without offending anybody, but I feel like that we would be quite presumptuous to think that before we even saw any numbers that we're going to go ahead and borrow $3 million more. One, we haven't seen any quotes, estimates, pricing, and two, that's a big vote to talk about, to give $3 million more to this project. I guess my question on the money end, Darrell, you said that you're getting to the point where we're going to start spending some of this $5 million. And do we have a very strong confidence that we're going to complete our task for this $5 million that we lack? I guess there's two questions there. I apologize. How soon before you need to start spending money of this $5 million?
I have to start spending it in November.
In November.
And we agreed when we passed this that I'll start taking the money first out of the hospital reserve account until I use that $2.8 million. Then I would go and use the debt service fund balance and then the school fund balance at the end. But may I make a comment? Remember, Mr. Gibson said, and the reason I brought this to you, I kind of figured we might have to have another month or so to decide on the amount, the additional over the $5 million, but I wanted to start the dialogue and so you can be thinking about it. But, Mr. Gibson is preparing a resolution that you will have to pass that if you do borrow the 5 million, we can reimburse ourselves. If I start taking it out of hospital reserve, once we sell the bonds, then we can put that money back into whatever account I'm taking it out of.
Mr. Scarlett.
We can legally reimburse ourselves after we sell the bond.
Mr. Scarlett, and then Miss Katie Huffaker.
I'd like to make a motion that we change this to $4 million, which is the amount we're dealing with. That's the county side that we're talking about refinancing. And if we do that, we're making the presumption that we were selling the idea, or at least the bond counsel and financial advisor up here was selling the idea that we need to keep it for industrial. And he had a great big thick book that we had to go through if we didn't. In my motion, I'd like to move that that money be earmarked, whatever we issue. And I'm not positive on the $4 million that we need to refinance that if we don't need to do cash, but I'm going to make that anyway.
Mr. Scarlett, do you want to hold that motion until we vote on the motion that's done been made and seconded before you do that?
I withdraw my motion. I'll be glad to.
Mr. McGraw?
This would be the issue of bonds, is that correct, Mr. Hilton?
Yes.
And you have to explain things to me very simply when it comes to this. Issuing of bonds, if you issue $4 million, you issue $8 million, there's a certain fixed expense to issuing bonds. Now, obviously, if we borrow 8, we're going to pay a lot more in interest than we do with 4. But there's still, my children asked me what to go into. I said, be a bond attorney, because those guys make a lot of money at this. And they should. They work hard. Would you, Mr. Helton, see any problem with us tabling this tonight and coming back in November? Would we be, according to these other questions like Mr. Gott's already asked, would we be doing harm to our fund balance? The school board could give us a lot better concrete idea. We could maybe wrap up, because I'm like David, I think we need to borrow how much we need to, but not a whole lot more. So is there any problem, in your opinion, in coming back with a little more concrete fund next month, figure next month?
No, none whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I probably would advise us to get the actual figure that hopefully we will get 30 tonight on what it takes to renovate building that. Because I don't think we need to piecemeal. We don't need to borrow $5 million or $4 million here and then come back and have to borrow $2 million or $3 million there. So.
Anyone else? Mr. Turner?
I'd just move to postpone this agenda item to next month's meeting.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. It will be up to the motion and the second if they want to.
You've already got a motion.
Your motion?
Yeah.
Your motion's active, and I'm going to hold this motion. We're going to vote on yours first.
No, postpone's a high privileged motion.
Okay.
This would take it.
You want to directly postpone?
I want to postpone. Send it to next month. So
Okay, so
fully discuss.
you moved to postpone, and who seconded?
Second.
Does everyone understand that the motion was made to postpone? Simple show of hands. If you're in favor.
Mr. Cogner, can you do that when there's a motion involved already?
Yes, sir. It's a motion to postpone
He is
or to
correct. I
table
was
is a
wrong.
high privileged motion, and it takes precedent over any other motion that's on the floor, and it has to be settled. If the motion to postpone fails, then your motion then is on the floor again. If it does not, it will be postponed, as I think Mr. Turner's motion said, until next month. It was a definite time. It goes on next month's agenda, and it will automatically come back if it passes.
just to clarify, Bob, it's not killing it, it's just giving more time, as the Director of Finance has stated, and our securities advisor, investment advisor, that we really should wait until we have all the requirements.
Can I make a statement here before you take the vote?
Let's make it short.
It's the thing that bothers me, that all of a sudden, we seem like we know more than everybody else. Why are we paying a financial advisor to come in here and advise us, and we're paying a finance director good money, and they both agree that this is what we need to do? And all of a sudden, I know we got some smart people here, but I mean, just like Dr. McGraw said, he don't know a thing about bonds. And here we are making all these decisions and wanting to change everything and put everything off them, and yet we're paying people to advise us, and then we don't take their advice.
That was Darrell's advice.
I'll hush.
Mr. Kesterson.
Was that not Darrell's advice to put it off? Thank you.
Motion stands to postpone and seconded. Simple show of hands. If you're in favor of postponing till next month, raise your right hand. Not. Motion carries. This motion will be postponed till next month. We also have for action Jefferson County Board of Commissioners Resolution 2014-31 surplus equipment from the county clerk's office. It's in your handout.
Move to approve.
Mr. Scarlett moves to approve. Mr. Galt seconds. All in favor, simple show of hands. All opposed? Passes unanimously. For action, contracts in lieu of performance bonds, annual inflation adjustment, county landfill. Ms. Scarlett moves to approve. Mr. Seals seconds. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. You have for information a school resolution surplus equipment for transportation department. That is just for your information. Moving right along, Solid Waste Director Bobby Hubbard, invitation to tour the sanitation department operations. Anyone interested in that, see Mr. Hubbard. J, Emergency Communications Director Justin Crother, you have your report. Question or comment? You have the Building Inspector Rob Wilson, first quarter report. Question or comment? Emergency Medical Service Director Brad Phillips, first quarter report. Question or comment? Environmental Services Director Tom Carter, first quarter report. Question or comment? Veteran Service Officer Matthew Underwood, first quarter report. Question or comment? Wheel Tax Compliance Officer Tim Satterfield, first quarter report. Question or comment? Director of Schools, Dr. Charles Edmonds. Mr. Edmonds, do you have anything for us at this time? Thank you, sir. Interim President, CEO, Chamber of Commerce, Judge Ben Strand. Question or comment? You may take the podium.
I'm asking Mr. Longmire to pass out two things for you. One of the things we're trying to do here, in the Chamber of Commerce this year, is to promote a program here in Jefferson County to try to keep our revenue here at home. A lot of revenue goes out of the county, and we need to create additional revenue. And with this program that we're pushing right now, Go Local campaign, is to encourage your people to spend $20 on the 20th of every month. If they do this, this will generate approximately $5 million in revenue to our merchants here in Jefferson County, who in turn will generate $129,000 in tax revenue to the Jefferson County. There are local businesses that are going to be participating in this program, or you can go on Go Local Jefferson County Facebook page. I'm giving out bumper stickers and ask you if you put them on your cars. I've got a couple posters. I'm going to ask you that a couple of the county officials put them up here, if they would, put them up in the courthouse where people can see it. But anyway, we're trying to keep the revenue here rather than going to Morristown, Newport, or Knoxville, or Sevierville and spending the money there. We're hoping you'll stay here with our own merchants. Also, too, I gave you a handout, too, in a program that we're going to have to try to promote some of our restaurants here in Jefferson County. We're having what's called a Taste of Jefferson County on October 30th at the Carriage House on Sellers Road. Right now we have 14 of our restaurants or catering services here in Jefferson County signed up. At the door it'll be a $15 fee, $15. It'll give you an opportunity to have 15 tickets to go around and sample the food that these 14, and we're hoping to get 15 merchants, or restaurants and catering services to come out there and participate. Give you an opportunity to sample every one of those merchants or restaurants' wares that they've got. We've got some real good ones. I've got Holy Smokes, which is a barbecue and a catering service. We've got Taste of Danridge, Bush Brothers, for Perkins, Walmart, Food City, just a few of them. But we're hoping that essentially that you can come out. I have tickets here tonight. They'll be $12 tonight up to October 30th, but at the door it'll be $15. So I'm going to stay around. If any of you would like to go ahead and buy an advance ticket, I'll be certainly glad to sell them to you, and I got change in my pocket. Also, too, we have had recently a bass tournament here with 600 participants. We've got scheduled a series of high school bass tournaments, also to be both on Cherokee and Douglas Lake, and we have a scheduled bass tournament, fishing tournament for the 4th and 5th of December. As I've told you, we have one in running for one company. We made the first cut. They're wanting 5 to 15 acres, and it'll be about a $6.5 million investment, creates 15 jobs with a median income of about $48,600. And also we have submitted information on property to a Michigan plastics firm that would employ approximately 100 people, but right now we don't know the status of it. And also we published a brochure to encourage people to come to Jefferson County to retire. So I encourage you to help us, and I'm trying to create a new image for the Chamber of Commerce here in Jefferson County. I know we realize we've got the black eye on a couple of issues, and I'm trying to change that. But I hope you'll stay with us, help us, and help us out in these two campaigns, or especially our Go Local Jefferson County, because we need to keep, not only do we need to keep our young people here in the county and employed, also we need to keep our money in here in county to make sure that we have the revenue that you need for your different programs here in Jefferson County. Is there any questions that you might have?
Judge Strand, I'd like to thank the Chamber for their efforts in this direction. It's funny because lots of times I tell students at school to shop locally. If they're going to buy some gas, pay for it in Jefferson County. If they're going to buy a hamburger, pay for it in Jefferson County. I guess it's a form of county nationalism, I guess, or protectionism, to protect our county and bring, keep revenue in our county. But it's a great idea, and I appreciate the Chamber's initiative on that, and I appreciate your public service to retire from being judge and then to step forward and take over the Chamber. I appreciate that you do that, and your efforts are very much appreciated.
Well, let me tell you, I was going crazy at home, depressed. I'm still working on that honeydew list, but I was Commissioner, just to tell you the truth, I was flabbergasted that they'd consider an old country lawyer such as me to come in and take over that position. It's quite an honor for me, and I might tell you this. I don't know. I know Ms. Huffaker knows that my daughter is an executive with Target department stores, and I shop here in Jefferson County. I probably spend more at Walmart here in Jefferson County than I do Target in Knoxville. So I'm trying to do my part. Although I do like to shop at Target every once in a while to help out her retirement, though. Thank you.
Mr. Seal, question?
I actually have a little bit different point of view than Mr. Turner on this, Judge Strand, if you've got just a minute.
Sure.
You mentioned last week that you were intending to improve the relationship between the Chamber of Commerce and the County Commission. My point is that relationship is pretty doggone good. The Jefferson County's been giving Chamber of Commerce hundreds of thousands of dollars for years. That relationship is excellent. What's lacking there is a relationship between the Chamber of Commerce and the citizens on accountability. And my point is, if the Chamber of Commerce is going to take money, they need to have open records and accountability. And we're involved in a lawsuit right now for open records and accountability. The citizens deserve to know what the Chamber of Commerce does with the money specifically, in my opinion.
Ms. Seals, last Thursday morning I had a meeting with Mayor Palmieri and all the mayors of Jefferson County, and we try to have those meetings. As far as that lawsuit is concerned, I had an opportunity to read over it. I frankly think essentially the lawsuit should be dismissed, because two main people in that particular lawsuit don't have standing, because they're not citizens and residents of the state of Tennessee. In fact, in my opinion, they have not asked for any kind of relief against the Chamber of Commerce and the other persons other than the financial portion of the Chamber of Commerce. And essentially everyone else should be dismissed. I have my opinions about that whole lawsuit. And that lawsuit's been brought by, used to be a very close friend of mine and used to be a client of mine. But I have my opinion about it. There's sometimes you cannot be, you have to respect the confidentiality of some of these companies that are moving in here. we have to respect that responsibility, that confidentiality in order for us to lure those people here into Jefferson County. And we've lost too many big companies here. For example, Land Air, White Pine, and Jefferson County ran them out. Look what they've done to Tusculum College. Look what they've done to the city of Greenville. They've taken Tusculum College and turned it in from a college that was very much in trouble to one of the most progressive colleges anywhere in East Tennessee and maybe in the nation. Came up with a lot of. Also, too, we ran a Japanese company out of White Pine. John Deere's left the county. We can't afford to let these people go. We kind of like we need to be out here fishing, and we don't need to let them off the hook. And sometimes it's necessary that we don't mean to, but this is what happens a lot of times in this recruitment process, is the fact that we have to respect the confidentiality of those, plus the fact you don't want some other community know that you're competing for them, for that industry, because they may outbid you, and that's another reason why sometimes confidentiality is so important too. But I'm kind of hoping that lawsuit will go away. Quite frankly, I think essentially it should go away if the proper motions are made.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
We're going to take a short recess here for a second to switch the tapes, and we'll conclude this meeting. Call this meeting back to order. Everyone, please be seated. You have before you Budget Committee Chairman John Neal Scarlett. Budget Committee recommendations. The floor is yours, Mr. Scarlett.
Budget Committee met prior to the work session, after the work session, and prior to today's meeting. What you've been handed out is the first one we'll take is General Fund 101, Amendment 4, Items 1 and 2. This is revenue neutral, does not impact fund balance. It was an insurance recovery taken in and expenditures to transfer between line items. It passed Budget Committee 10-0. I so move it.
That comes as a recommendation from the Budget Committee, so it does not need a second. Is there anyone opposed to this issue? If so moved, it passed. The floor is yours, sir.
Second item would be Hospital Fund 128, Amendment 1. This is, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Helton, this is half of the hospital fund payment that is transferred in the schools that the prior commission used to balance the budget for the school budget this fiscal year. Is that correct?
Identified as a contribution.
It's identified as a contribution to be placed in with the school system, transferring it that way. This passed unanimously by the Budget Committee. I so move it.
It comes to you as a recommendation from the Budget Committee. Does anyone oppose this item? If so, it passes.
The next two for the county side are impacting fund balance. They do need a voice vote, roll call vote, Mr. Chairman. First one is General Fund 101 Amendment. You have two items on it. The first item is a fund balance of reaching the fund balance when we bought the finance office, Mr. Helton, this is the remaining money that has to be moved on it. Is that correct?
Correct.
The next item is fund balance, the premiums on surety bond. Mr. Helton said he got more dangerous, so they charged him more. And the premiums on surety bond went up. Both of these items do impact fund balance. You will be taking it out of fund balance, placing it into the current budget. Passed in the Budget Committee. I'm sorry. I so move it.
Thank you, Mr. Scarlett. You have before you, this does impact fund balance. It will be a roll call vote. If you agree with the Budget Committee, vote yes. If not, vote no. Any question or comment?
Does this or does it not include item 3?
Does not include item 3. Item 3 was postponed.
Okay.
Item 3 was postponed. Everyone understand? Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Katie Huffaker.
Yes.
Todd Kesterson.
Yes.
Steve Douglas.
Yes.
David Goff.
Yes.
Randy Baxley.
Yes.
Rita Music.
Yes.
Donnie Tabor.
Yes.
John McGraw.
Yes.
Russell Turner.
Yes.
Tim Seals.
Yes.
Robert Blevins.
Yes.
Gene Esslinger.
Yes.
Randy Bales.
Yes.
John Neal Scarlett.
Yes.
Terry Dockery.
Yes.
Robert Tucker.
Yes.
Jimmy Carmichael.
Yes.
David Seal.
Yes.
Bob Beeler.
Yes.
Barbara Sheets.
Yes.
This amendment passes 20-0. Mr. Scarlett, you have the floor.
Next one is a fund balance adjustment in Sanitary Fund 116, whereas the last one affected the general fund balance. This is the landfills fund balance. It is a movement of money to purchase one roll-off and one front-loader truck, which is the garbage truck that picks up the dumpsters. It passed in the Budget Committee. I move it.
You have before you the Sanitation Fund 116. If you support this, you will vote yes. If you don't, you'll support by saying no.
Questions?
Question.
The Bobby Hubbard back there, if he could come up, answer a question or two. Mr. Hubbard, your use of the roll-on or roll-off and the front loader truck, where will it be used?
Where will it be used?
Where will this equipment be used?
Well, the front loader will be replacing probably an 82 and 84 model truck.
Okay.
And see, we've gone into the commercial end of it, which I didn't want to after we lost all the revenue with waste industry.
Okay, so where will the truck be used? Where will it be used? Is it going to be used at the landfill, or is it going to be used at the convenience centers? What will it
be used in the convenience centers, and just like right now we got a lot of dumpsters, roll-offs at Rittenbach, and different people who are asking for 30-yard roll-offs. That's the roll-off. And the front loader will be used in the commercial end, plus pick up in the schools and what have you, just like they're being used now.
Anyone else? Mr. Tabor.
Will it be revenue generating, or is it just going to be a replacement?
No, it'd be revenue since we're in the commercial end of it. It'll be used as the roll-off right now, or the pickup right now being used. It'd be, like I say, it'd be replacing the 82 and 84 model trucks, and it'd be used there and also at the commercial end.
Thank you.
Anyone else? We'll vote now if you support this fund. Vote by saying yes. If not, vote no. Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Katie Huffaker.
Yes.
Todd Jefferson.
Yes.
Steve Douglas.
Yes.
David Galt.
Yes.
Randy Baxley.
Yes.
Rita Music.
Yes.
Donnie Tabor.
Yes.
John McGraw.
Yes.
Russell Turner.
Yes.
Tim Seals.
Yes.
Robert Blevins.
Yes.
Gene Esslinger.
Yes.
Randy Bales.
Yes.
John Neal Scarlett.
Yes.
Terry Dockery.
Yes.
Robert Tucker.
Yes.
Jimmy Carmichael.
Yes.
David Seal.
Yes.
Bob Beeler.
Yes.
Barbara Sheets.
Yes.
20-0, it passes. Mr. Scarlett, you have the floor.
That is all the county budget amendments. The next two concern the schools. The first one is general purpose 141, budget amendment 3. It is moving revenue back in. That was an insurance part of the collection on the building 8. Is that correct, Mr. Helton? It moves it from the insurance settlement back into a line item in the school maintenance budget that had been debited to move forward with the cleanup of building 8. It passed the budget committee. I so move it.
This is a revenue neutral purpose fund. It will not require a roll call vote. If you approve of this, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed? That amendment passes. Mr. Scarlett, the floor is yours.
The last budget amendment is Federal Purpose Fund 141, Budget Amendment 3. It is various line items moved between. It's concerning federal money. To tell you the truth, there's not a whole lot you can do about it anyway. I so move it.
This is a revenue neutral fund. Is there anyone here opposed to it? If not, passes 20-0. Before you have items of information for commissioners.
Hang on just a second. I got one more.
I apologize, Mr. Scarlett, you have the floor back.
Budget committee met prior to the meeting here, and we apologize for running a little long. On the agenda, we had the consideration for bonus requests for county employees. The budget committee's recommendation that came out of there was that because we had a fund balance roll, I believe Mr. Helton said of $233,000, that the half of that be accorded to the employee bonuses. They had to be working by September 1. They had to have been working 1 year. It'll be a flat bonus, straight across the board, evenly divided on a 2-tier scale. The part-time gets half what the full-time gets on bonuses, and the half of the $233,000 is divided by Mr. Helton on the number of employees. It passed the budget committee. I move it.
You have before you this recommendation from the budget committee. Any question or comment? Mr. McGraw.
Go over that one more time for us, Mr. Scarlett, to make sure that we have exactly who gets the bonuses, who doesn't get the bonuses, and how much, please.
Okay. And I will confess I was the one that made this motion, and the discussion in there was on just started out as a flat bonus, just an arbitrary figure. And the reason that this was done, or that I made the motion, was that I feel like that if we ask the county citizens to come up with tax money, then we've got to be accountable for them. And they're by the good works of the county employees and the department heads, they returned $233,000 back to our fund balance that was in the budget that wasn't spent. And based on that, we're taking that $233,000. The citizens of the county are getting half of it to run the county, and half of it's being returned to the employees of the county for being judicious with the thing. There's 314 full-time employees that I think Mr. Helton said meets this criteria. It will fluctuate a little bit. You'll have to go back and look at employment date, but they would have had to be on September 1 of this year. They would have had to be employed 12 pay periods, 1 year. There are also approximately 140 part-time employees that will be under the same criteria. And this will be paid out to them. The total amount be paid out will be half of the 233. And it will be paid in November pay period.
Is that all of it?
That's all. I move it.
Any more question or comment?
Mr. Helton, you got a comment?
Well, no, I want you to ask something else. Remember, we wanted to ask about that change of use of funds. that the commission-
I'll get to you. I'm sorry. That's all on this one. I got one more.
If you approve of this pay raise based on what John Neal just said, you'll be voting yes. If you disapprove, you'll be voting no.
Be a bonus.
Bonus. Call it a bonus? Okay, we'll call it a bonus. That's what I wasn't sure about. Does everyone understand that? Clerk, call the roll.
Katie Huffaker,
Yes.
Todd Kesterson,
Yes.
Steve Douglas,
Yes.
David Galt,
Because I am an employee of Jefferson County, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and my obligation to my constituents and citizens this body represents. Yes.
Randy Baxley,
Yes.
Rita Music,
Yes.
Donnie Tabor,
Yes.
John McGraw,
Yes.
Russell Turner,
Because I'm an employee of Jefferson County Schools, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body represents. Yes.
Tim Seals,
Because I am an employee of Jefferson County and have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted on, however, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body represents. Yes.
Robert Blevins,
Yes.
Gene Esslinger,
Yes.
Randy Bales,
Yes.
John Neal Scarlett,
Yes.
Terry Dockery,
Yes.
Robert Tucker,
Yes.
Jimmy Carmichael,
Yes.
David Seal,
Because I'm an employee of Jefferson County, I have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and my obligation to my constituents and the citizens this body represents. My vote is yes.
Bob Beeler,
Yes.
Barbara Sheets.
Yes.
Passes 20-0. Moving right along to item 13,
Wait a minute, I'm
information.
sorry, I got one more.
Mr. Scarlett, I
I
yield
wasn't
the
paying
floor.
attention. We did strike one other thing, and we had asked at the Budget Committee meeting if it had to be, Comptroller of the state said it did not have to go through the Budget Committee, but it is a request from the schools, and if Mr. Fagan would like to speak to that at this time, even though it didn't have to come through the Budget Committee, I'll yield the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Scarlett. Members of the commission, as you'll recall at the work session, it was brought before you that the remainder of the $500,000 in capital projects from the 13-14 budget, which was originally designated for windows, was an amount of just shy of $60,000 after we used 440 plus for the stadium. But that 600, or slightly under $60,000, the school board would like you to consider allowing that to be used for security upgrades at schools. And talked with the sheriff and principals and evaluated the capital projects lists, and we've got about $142,000 estimated that we could do to beef up the entrances to our schools from a security standpoint. Obviously the $60,000 won't get us there, but it gets a long way toward that end. So that's the request we have before you. We hope you'll give us that opportunity.
Okay, you're asking the request. Would you repeat your request one more time?
That the commission allowed the funds that were originally designated for window replacement at the schools to be redesignated such that they could be used for security upgrades at the various schools.
Mr. Parliamentarian, can we vote on that tonight, or will we need to suspend the rule?
We will not need to suspend the rules because I placed it on the, at the request of Mr. Fagan and Mr. Helton, I placed it on the agenda for the Budget Committee, and we dispense with it as may construct it from our agenda because we were not required. Therefore, it comes from the Budget Committee to be voted on.
That's my question, sir. Thank you, Mr. Scarlett. Ms. Huffaker.
Yes, ma'am.
This has been approved by the school board?
The school board took action to ask that the county commission consider this, yes.
And this does not include the tennis courts?
It does not.
Does it include anything at the high school?
It does not.
Does everyone understand what they'll be voting on? Question or comment? Mr. McGraw.
Again, wasn't that fund originally for the windows and doors used for the football stadium?
Just over $440,000 of the $500,000 was. And the school board's request is that the remainder be reoriented toward security.
Mr. Seal.
One quick question. What schools does it involve? I've not been privy to that information.
Well, we have identified issues at all the schools, but we will take them in an order of priority that we'd rather not specify what exactly we're going to do since it is a security matter. We just know that we're going to beef up entries at several of our schools rather than getting into the deficiencies that are there in the public arena where it might be used for ulterior motives.
Anyone else? Mr. Tabor.
Michael, so you're not going to come back in a couple months and ask for the window money back, are you?
I don't think I'm going to commit to that. At some point in time, I will be seeking funds to do windows, or I hope we will, as a school system, be seeking funds to do windows. Unless we can manage that through our operating budget. I mean, we always try. For example, we came before this commission asking for money for roofing, and we got some money, but we had a whole list of them, and we didn't come back to ask for the rest. We've managed to accomplish that through our operating budget. So to the extent that we can, we try to do that.
Do we have a line item number for this move from where it's moving to and where it's going to? Mr. Helton.
It was in capital projects.
It's coming from capital projects?
Yes.
Wait a minute, is it not in capital projects, a reserve account?
Well, yeah, it was moved, it was in capital projects to start with. It was not used, and so that was put into a reserve account or carried over into reserve.
It's a reserve account for capital projects, correct?
Yes, correct.
You don't have a number right now?
No.
That would be up to them.
That would be up to them, correct? Any more question or comment? If you vote in favor of moving this money from capital projects into security, we will say, vote yes. If not, vote no. Clerk, call the roll.
Katie Huffaker,
Yes.
Todd Jefferson,
Yes.
Steve Douglas,
Yes.
David Galt,
Yes.
Randy Baxley,
Yes.
Rita Music,
Yes.
Donnie Tabor,
No.
John McGraw,
Yes.
Russell Turner,
Yes.
Tim Seals,
Yes.
Robert Blevins,
Yes.
Gene Esslinger,
Yes.
Randy Bales,
Yes.
John Neal Scarlett,
Yes.
Terry Dockery,
Yes.
Robert Tucker,
Yes.
Jimmy Carmichael,
Yes.
David Seal,
Yes.
Bob Dealer,
Yes.
Barbara Sheets.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes 19-1. Moving right along to item 13, information for commissioners. Bainbury, Danridge, and Newmarket Fire Department reports. Any question or comment? Number 14, unfinished business. There is none. Number 15, new business. 15B, Commissioner Tim Seals, session schedule. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be quick with this motion. I move that regular meetings of the Jefferson County Board of Commissioners beginning in 2015 be changed from 6:30 p.m. on the third Mondays in January, March, April, and June, July, September, October, and November to quarterly IE meetings at 6:30 p.m. on the third Mondays in January, April, July, and November, with call meetings as necessary. Should a Monday fall on a legal holiday, commission shall meet on the following day or on a date agreed on by the majority. I further move that the Jefferson County Commission Rules of Procedure be amended to reflect that the above revised schedule and that the revised schedule be duly published in a newspaper of general circulation.
You have a motion on the floor before you. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Tucker seconds it. You have a motion and a second to move to quarterly meetings. Question or comment? Mr. Edmonds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I don't come forward to speak negatively about your action this evening on this issue, but only to tell you some concerns that we have as a school system. I don't believe that the school system was under the Act of 81 when you were meeting before, and you were not, didn't have the Act of 81 when you were meeting before quarterly. We had our own finance office, I believe, in the Board of Education office. The problem we have is timeliness in getting some things done that have to be done. And again, not to throw cold water on the motion or anything, but to let you know that some problems we're going to have will have to be dealt with. At the present time, we get over $5.5 million of grant money. And that money has to be handled in certain ways and has to be moved at certain times and put in the, and we get amendments and things that have to be done. There's just so many things that the school system has to do with funds that may not impact other departments. So, you know, we're going to have, on occasions, we're going to have, if this should pass, we're going to have be able to get before you things that are going to have to be dealt with, or we're going to lose money. And Sheriff Fincham, our Director of Elementary Education, and the one who writes a lot of these grants, and like I told you, it's about $5.5 million. I'm going to ask Sherry to come forward if you'd allow her to do that and just give the reasons, some of the reasons why this is going to be difficult for us. Not saying we can't do it if we have to, but we just think we ought to know there are some concerns that we have.
Podium, please.
This is strictly concerning state and federal grants. In 2014-15, we are receiving $5,479,087 in federal and state grant funds. Often these grant funds have to be increased or decreased, typically in August. Amendments must be done immediately to balance the line item budget with the updated grant allocation. Final federal and state approval requires approval of a balanced budget from the funding body. in order to be in receipt of those funds. Federal grant funds are tied to time limits. If amendments are needed, it currently takes almost a 2-month window to get an approved amendment. Going to quarterly meetings could extend that time to possibly 5 months. In September, we were awarded a $53,906.62 Math and Science Partnership Grant. We'd never received this grant before. If the commission had not met in September, we would not have been able to accept that grant due to the time constraints for revenue acceptance and approval of budget line item expenditures. All expenditures for this particular grant must be final by the 15th of December. It was imperative to begin the grant program in September in order to meet this December deadline. We barely met this September 15th start date of the grant because the commission met on that same date and recognized those revenues and passed that line item, those line items. When the budget year comes to a close, for a grant that has drop-dead funds, which are very many of our grants, any line item funds that remain in salary and benefits must be moved into a supply line item in order to expend those funds. Otherwise, those revenues are lost. We return those funds basically to the state unspent. Indirect costs are realized revenues figured on a percentage of our actual expenditures. So we don't know our actual expenditures till the end of the year. And for federal grants, all of these amendments must be done in a timely manner to recognize those indirect costs as an actual expenditure in order to request the reimbursement on the grant. So I just want you to be aware that this is really going to put state and federal grant deadlines in a bind if we don't have some kind of alternative.
Mr. Tucker. Mr. Seals, with your motion, is there anything in your motion to go to quarterly meetings that would restrict us from having special called meetings?
No, in fact, in it, I said with call meetings as necessary.
So if they had something that we needed to address, or any other county department had an issue that we needed to address as a commission, then we could have a special call meeting and address it at any time.
Nobody in the world believes we're going to meet 4 times a year. I mean, that's just ain't possible. So there will be several call meetings, I'm sure.
Mr. McGraw. I'm sorry, Mr. Tucker, was you finished?
Yes, sir.
You know, when I sat out there a few months ago, I thought, why in the world don't we go to quarterly meetings, because we can do everything we need to a special call meeting. Got an email from you, Mr. Chairman, today, and I responded by saying, right now, it feels like I'm drinking from a fire hose. I mean, there's so much stuff that I'm trying to learn, and my ability is that of a sippy cup. And I want to go to quarterly meetings desperately, but maybe in a year. At this moment, I'm a new commissioner. I'm learning my ropes. It's not easy. Just because I'm a doctor don't mean I'm just any smarter than anyone else. I need a lot of spoon feeding and bottle feeding right now. So I'd kind of, as bad as I hate to say it, kind of like to meet every month for a little while until I get oriented. But
Every month.
Don't worry, you will.
I hope we're not meeting every month.
Every other month.
Mr. Turner.
I've had a chance to talk it over with Pop about it, and we disagree. And one of the things I'd like to say is I've only been on County Commission 4 years, but not one time in the 4 years did I ever hear us say, hey, let's cancel this meeting because we don't have anything to do. In 4 years, we never canceled a meeting because we didn't have anything to do. And what I'm saying there is, there's always something to do. Another concern I have is the particular ways in which, under our rules, in which you can call a meeting. If it were to be a political and contentious issue, which that's not going to happen here, where maybe the mayor doesn't want to call a meeting. If he didn't want to, then we would have to have 11 of us on the side of an issue to sign a petition. If there weren't 11 of us to do that, then there wouldn't be a meeting, so that whatever issue that is so important that we feel that we need to call a meeting, that meeting wouldn't happen. So I think what we do by saying let's reduce the number of meetings is we kind of tie our hands a little bit. We restrict ourselves. I don't think we should ever restrict ourselves. We are the county legislative body. Why would we restrict ourselves? If we don't want to have a meeting, let's call and say, let's cancel a meeting. That's my point there. We've never done that. The other thing is I agree completely with the school's workload, the workload of budget amendments and grants that are time sensitive, and the matching grants on occasion that we have to support or supply to meet those grants and have them approved. Not including beer permits, and I know people can wait for beer boards and so forth. And I think another thing here is, and I do not agree, and I will vote no, is that if we want 4 meetings so bad, I would almost say right here and now that I would offer an amendment that if we're going to 4 meetings, that we only get paid 4 times.
Nobody said go to 4 meetings.
Quarterly meetings.
With special call.
If we go to quarterly meetings, let's be paid quarterly.
Whatever.
So I'll offer that amendment then.
We have a amendment to the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it this time for discussion.
Mr. Beeler seconded the motion to amend that they only get paid for the quarterly meetings. Is that how you want your motion to read?
That if we're moving to quarterly meetings, why would we get paid every month?
I don't know why did you start with?
Because we had a minimum 8 meetings that we've had, a minimum of 8, but really we have anywhere from probably 10
to 12.
To 12, and it doesn't match up to the meetings, but it certainly doesn't match up 8 paychecks for 4 meetings potentially either.
I thought we got 12.
Mr. Beeler, you have the floor, and then Mr. Baxley.
If we go to quarterly meetings, when we did this before, I was here when we had quarterly meetings. But our whole department, the administrative part of it, like our secretary and everything, was under the mayor. Now, we've got our own secretary and everything. What in the world is she going to do? If you cut her hours, then she's gone, I'm sure. I'm just assuming that. I haven't talked to her about this or anything. But I don't know. There's a lot to be thought about here before we vote on this. Because I don't know what we're going to do with her, because she can't sit over her for 3 months and then have 1 month's work to do.
Mr. Baxley.
I've been under both. And the reality of it is, we'd come in here at our quarterly meeting, we did a day meeting. We started at 9 o'clock in the morning. I've been sitting here at 5 and 6 o'clock in the evening. Now, we think some of these meetings here are long. You go to a quarterly meeting, better pack you an extra sandwich. And I just can't see it. There's too much that we build a roadblock at. There's too many roadblocks that we're going to throw up whenever we do a quarterly meeting. I don't care if you call you special meetings or whatever you want to call them. It's not feasible. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Baxley.
I have a question. When you have, go to quarterly and you have special called meetings, you have to have so many to have a quorum, correct? Have there ever been meeting times when you didn't have enough to quorum, because then the school system, if we were calling it for their grants, might not be able to meet the deadline?
There has been times that we have not had a quorum for different committees. I don't think it's ever happened for full county commission.
No. It has.
One time.
One time?
One time.
I know it happened in the last 4.5 years anyway. Anyone else? We have a motion on the floor with an amendment in a second.
So I didn't get to close that.
Sure.
So, my opinion on this is if you vote no, you're saying, let's have quarterly meetings, but get paid 8 times. If you vote no to this and yes to the quarterly meetings, you're saying, I'm fine with quarterly meetings, but I want to be paid 8 times. That's all.
I got a question.
I don't understand what he's talking about there.
I can't follow the commissioner.
I have no idea.
How many times do we get paid now, Mr. Helton?
I'm sorry, I made a mistake there. I meant to say 12. It's 12 paychecks. I'm sorry. It's 12 paychecks for 4.
I knew my wife had gotten them, and she takes care of that, but I didn't know if I got cheated or not there.
Thank you, I appreciate that. It's 12 paychecks for quarterly meetings.
Yeah. He's done close, correct. Anyone else, he is done close. We're going to vote on the amendment. If you vote yes for the amendment, you're voting to cut the pay to the number of meetings. If you vote no, you vote no. Call the roll.
Got one question.
Hold on just a second.
Is this tied to the other motion, or?
It's an amendment.
It's an amendment to the motion, so we're voting on the amendment.
I just want to be clear on that.
Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Katie Huffaker?
No.
Todd Kesterson?
No.
Steve Douglas?
No.
David Galt?
No.
Randy Baxley? Rita Music?
No.
Donnie Tabor?
No.
John McGraw?
No.
Russell Turner?
Yes.
Tim Seals?
No.
Sammy Solomon? Robert Blevins?
No.
Gene Esslinger?
No.
Randy Bales?
No.
John Neal Scarlett?
No.
Terry Dockery?
No.
Robert Tucker?
No.
Jimmy Carmichael?
No.
David Seal?
No.
Bob Beeler?
No.
Barbara Sheets?
The noes have it, 19-1. The amendment fails. Back to the original motion. Mr. Seals, you get to close.
Let's vote. That's all I want to say.
Mr. Tucker.
We can vote. That's fine. I was going to make a couple of comments.
Mr. McGraw, quickly.
Commissioner Seals, is there any way that you would table this for a few months until we get our feet on the ground?
Nope, I ain't gonna do it. Let's vote on it, one way or the other.
Quick.
You know, I would say also to the new commissioners that since you are new, you haven't really had a chance to see how much work comes before the commission, so you might consider what Dr. McGraw has proposed there, that until you're really more familiar with how much business is out there, maybe you should hold off on doing this.
Mr. Tucker.
I was going to yield when I thought that he was actually closing and we were going to vote, but with more stuff coming out, I think that the things we're going to have to do if we do go to quarterly, we're going to have to learn to trust the departments to run themselves. We have to get out of the business of micromanagement. And so many times we get together and there's not a lot to do, so we sit here as a commission and we start digging into things that we have no business in. So we will have to get out of the micromanagement business and get into the trusting departments to run themselves efficiently. Number two, there will be growing pains because the departments, they're going to have to become proactive. They're going to have to plan ahead. They're going to have to know there's not a regularly scheduled meeting. If there is an emergency that comes forth, if we have funds that we need to accept from a federal grant or any other grant, by all means. I would assuredly say that 11 of us will come together and say, let's accept that money. Let's have a special call meeting. Let's get together and let's vote it. But I'll also say this. If there was some need and you couldn't get 11 commissioners to decide to get together and have a meeting, how big of a need was it really? And was that need something that was going to pass? Because even if there's 21 of us here, 11 of us have to say yes for it to go. So if those 11 weren't willing to call a meeting, then those 11 surely wouldn't vote yes. I say we trust the departments, we move back. If there's an issue, and it seems like we are doing special call, then we can go back to this 8 meetings in a year. But let's give this a try and see if we can become more efficient, more trusting, and more proactive. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Barbara Sheets.
I think we're going to be doing the wrong thing to go to quarterly meetings, because when you have call meetings, why not just have a regular meeting? If you have call meetings, we might not even have enough people to be here to pass anything. We have done that before, and I just think it's wrong. And just for 2 months being on the county commission and you don't want to have the regular meetings, I don't understand it.
We have a call to the question. All conversation will cease this time. We will vote. If you vote yes, that means you are voting for quarterly meetings. If you vote no, no means no. Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Katie Huffaker.
No.
Todd Kesterson.
Yes.
Steve Douglas.
No.
David Galt.
Yes.
Randy Batchley.
No.
Rita Music.
No.
Donnie Tabor.
No.
John McGraw.
No.
Russell Turner.
No.
Tim Seals.
Yes.
Robert Blevins.
Yes.
Gene Esslinger.
No.
Randy Bales.
No.
John Neal Scarlett.
Yes.
Terry Dockery.
Yes.
Robert Tucker.
Yes.
Jimmy Carmichael.
Yes.
David Seal.
No.
Bob Beeler.
No.
Barbara Sheets.
No.
Motion fails, 12 to 8. You have announcements on number 16. It's the usual announcements, and I have one thing that I would like to add before we adjourn. And that I sent a memo out today on any kind of handouts. Yeah. Order. I sent a memo out today from the chair asking that every handout that wants to be put in front of county commission be submitted to the office so Miss Peggy can put it in the packet so we can read it. A lot of input from a lot of people's been asking for this, and I was just going to warn everybody that that's something that's new and going to be coming up. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
This meeting is adjourned.